In this video, we're going to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. And first, I'm going to start with like the ending piece of completing the square. So we're going to solve this right equation first. And the right equation has x plus 2 squared equals 49. Now, because the whole left side of the equation is squared, we can actually start this solving this problem by square rooting each side. So I'm going to take the square root of x plus 2 squared. I'm going to take the square root of 49. But when I do that, that's plus and minus square root of 49. The square root of x plus 2 squared is just x plus 2 equals plus and minus, what's the root of 49? That would be 7. So then I'm going to subtract 2 on each side. And when I subtract 2 from each side, I get x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus 7. So I've got two options here. X is equal to negative 2 plus 7 or negative 2 minus 7. So I end up with x is equal to 5 or x is equal to negative 9. So that's how you solve for the ending part of a completing the square problem. Now we're actually going to go through the whole procedure here. And they're going to give you some problems that are actually factorable, but I need you not to factor them. So I'm just going to write, please don't factor. Right? Because the factors of 11 could be negative 11 and negative 1, and you could just factor this out. But they're giving you easy ones to have you practice completing the square. So let's go through the completing the square part. First thing for completing the square is we're going to subtract the 11 over. So we get x squared minus 12x is equal to negative 11. And then when we complete the square, we always take the b term, we divide it by 2, and remember when I say b term, quadratics are written ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So we're taking the b term, the coefficient on x, we're dividing it by 2, and then we're squaring it. So when we do that, we take negative 12, which is on the x term, we divide it by 2, and then we square it. Now, I showed this in Unit 1 by saying that this would be like blank here. I just kind of put a blank, equals negative 11, and then I would put a blank here. So I'm going to fill the blank in with whatever number I get here. So negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6 squared, which is 36. So I'm actually going to add in 36 here. And if I add 36 to this side, I also have to do it here. So I can keep the equation balanced. I'm not changing the equation because I'm adding 36 to both sides. So I start by moving the c term over. Then I take the middle term, divide it by 2, and square it. And then I add that number to both sides. Now I've made this piece a perfect square trinomial because the factors of 36 that add to negative 12 are negative 6 and negative 6. So I can write x minus 6. This factors to x minus 6, which is equal to, add those together at 25. Well, this is really x minus 6 squared is equal to 25. And now I have the exact same type of problem that I had on the right side that I solved first. I'm going to square root each side. And when I square root the 25, remember I have to write plus and minus. So I get x minus 6 is equal to plus and minus 5. Add the 6 to both sides. I get x is equal to 6 plus and minus 5. So x is going to equal 6 plus 5, which is 11, or x is going to equal 6 minus 5, which is 1. Now, clearly, if we factored this at the very beginning, we would have gotten 1 and 11 for our factors of that problem. And I said don't factor it, but we would have gotten x minus 11, x minus 1. We did use ZPP, and we would have gotten the same answer. But they're having you practice completing the square because not all equations are factorable, and if they're not factorable, completing the square is one method you can use. Let's do a second example, or I should say a third example. Again, don't factor. Let's complete the square. We'll add the 45 to the other side, so it's x squared plus 4x, and then I'm just going to put a blank, is equal to negative 40, not negative 45, positive 45, and then blank. So that's just plus 45 there. Kind of screwed it up by writing a negative. So I added it to the other side. We're going to take the middle term, so the b term. We're going to take b over 2 and square it. So I have 4 over 2 squared, which is 2. When I do 4 divided by 2, I get 2 squared, which is 4. So I'm going to write in plus 4, plus 4. So I end up with, when I factor that, 4 factors to 2 and 2 and 2 add to 4. So I have x plus 2 is equal to 49. So I get x plus 2 squared is equal to 49. Now I'm in the same spot that I was in the previous problems. I square root each side. And when I square root 49, I have to write plus and minus. So I get x plus 2 is equal to plus and minus 7. Subtract the 2 over. And I get x is equal to negative 2 plus and minus 7, which means x is equal to negative 2 plus 7, which is 5, or x is equal to negative 2 minus 7, which is negative 9. So my two solutions would be 5 and negative 9. And that's how you complete the square.